Um, and so I feel very strongly that, I saw all these like ads pop up, like, how can we celebrate Hanukkah when this, and Dafka, lahefech, we Dafka have to celebrate even more now and even deeper now in order to make the light shine even brighter and to, the more that we can draw the light of Hanukkah really into the world and really into our lives, actually it will end up being a nechama, a comfort to the families that lost loved ones yesterday, and really it will be a nechama for all of Israel. So that's what we're doing here today. We're going to try to tap into more of the light of Hanukkah, learn how to do that, and how to sort of make the best use of our time by the Neirot. And we're learning from B'Yam Darkecha today. So B'Yam Darkecha is always, we've learned from here before. I don't know if I've ever brought the book with me. B'Yam Darkecha is teachings from Rav Itchemeyer Morgenstern, written down by his student, Rav Pinchas Halberstadt. And kind of, I'm going to say simplified, because Rav Itchemeyer's teachings are very full of Kabbalah and Gematria, and Rav Pinchas really eased the way for us. But what I love about this Sefer is that it's never about static learning. It's always about learning that is like how to, right? How do I, right? Hanukkah's not just a commemoration. It's not a commemoration at all, right? We learn in Hasidus that, and we've said this a million times, right? That every year on Hanukkah, the same light that shined on the original Hanukkah shines on this Hanukkah. And so, right, it's a certain energy. And the reason why the events of the original Hanukkah happened on this day is because this day was Ra'ui already to that energy, okay? And the energy of Hanukkah is the energy of Hod. Now, there's a page over there for you. Oh no, you have it right here. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is from half of this. Half of this sefer is about Hanukkah. So I'm taking just one piece of a piece here. Okay,
but what's interesting is that when they went out to fight.
Wait, Becky, you know what? I want to just focus. Yeah. Okay, so thank you. Yes, you're right. They didn't, and we'll actually talk about that. Okay, but I want to just get this inyan first out into the world, okay? Mevoar b'divrei Rabbeinu ha'Arizal v'harashash sheha'or shemitgale b'Chanukah hu ora shel midat ha'hod. Okay, the light that shines on Hanukkah is the light of the midah of Hod. Now, what is Hod? Let's just finish the sentence and then we'll explain it more fully. Midat ha'hod inyana v'derech pe'ulata lahodot al ha'emet ha'pnimit. Okay, the whole idea of Hod is the concept or the ability to recognize and to give thanks for, to acknowledge, right? I moda'ani lefanecha, right? I acknowledge, I am grateful to wake up in the morning, and also I submit myself to it. Okay, so to all of that, so recognition, acknowledgement, gratitude, and submission to ha'emet ha'pnimit, the inner truth of the world. Okay, what is the inner truth of the world? So before I go on, because I took a little bit from different pieces, okay, the inner truth of the world is en od milvado. Okay, en od milvado. And I'm saying that informed by, of course, everything that happened yesterday and everything that happens in all of our personal lives, right? Okay, b'miuchad right now in my own personal life. I truly believe that. I really, really, truly believe. And that's not that I believe, it's the truth, right? So everything is from Hashem. And I just heard, I was listening to one snippet of Gedalia Fencer. He said something really good. I always say, what everything Hashem does is, right? We say everything Hashem does is good. It doesn't always feel good. So then we change the sentence. We say everything Hashem does is for our own good, right? So, and again, always the mashal that we use is like, I want to eat chocolate all day long. But of course, it's not good for me to eat chocolate all day long. So I might stop myself from eating chocolate or a parent would stop a child from eating something unhealthy all day long. And to the child, it feels not good. I want what I want. I want it when I want it. And this doesn't feel good, right? So obviously I'm taking it, to a lighter sort of, even childish mashal, but obviously nothing about yesterday feels good. But what Gedalia Fenster also, hi. Yes, how are you? Chag Sameach. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'hakol niya b'dbaro.
Right.
So Gedalia Fenster said everything that Hashem does brings out will end up bringing out good in the world. Now, again, it doesn't feel good. Obviously, it feels horrific. It feels terrible, and we're not. I'm chas v'shalom. I don't want to do spiritual bypass and just be like, oh no, it was all good. Obviously, it does not feel good. It feels painful. It feels. There are some connections, personal connections. We also, like, my niece is on a trip right now. My husband's family all live in Sydney. So just in case you didn't know that. My mother-in-law lives in Melbourne, but everybody else lives in Sydney. And my niece is here currently right now. She's a student at Moriah, which is the Jewish day school in Sydney. They're on a trip right now, and one of the girls on the trip had to fly home because her father got killed. So again, it doesn't look like anything that we could possibly put the word good to, chas v'shalom, okay? But let's delve deeper with being informed by what happened, okay? And let's try and see how we can use Hanukkah to help us to understand this whole concept in a deeper way, okay? Okay. So Hod is this hakara, this recognition, this submission to Hashem's ways. Afilu, so second paragraph. Afilu shebavadai kol Yehudi ma'amin b'Hashem yisbarach. So even though every Jew, right, and obviously this is a panemius aspect, right? It doesn't look like every Jew believes in Hashem, but we'll say through the lens of Chassidus that every Jew has a godly soul, and therefore, deep inside it might be covered in layers of schmutz and current events. Okay, but every Jew is a ma'amin. We are ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim. That's what we're called. That's what the soul in us does naturally, is believe in Hashem. V'gam muchan limsor et nafsho al yichudo yisbarach. And even the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya that we have this ability, this innate ability to give our lives for the sake of Hashem, right? And we've seen that in past times, and we see it in current times, right? We see it in the way the Chatufim, behaved very much. Afal pichen, even so, lemaise midat hahod nifgema. Okay, in our everyday reality, the midah of Hod has been blemished. Okay, and that's basically what the Yevanim set out to do with Hanukkah, and that's what the Chashmonaim were trying to litaken. Okay, the Yevanim were basically saying, and this is really the whole beginning of the essay, which I did 2 years ago, which is online, but I'm continuing on with the essay as if 2 years has not passed. But the Yevanim basically looked at what? At the outside, at the chitzonius. Okay, what were they interested in? They were interested in sports. They were interested in beauty, physical beauty. Okay, they were interested in only what you could see with your physical eyes, what looks successful or good in our physical sense of that word. Okay, and the Chashmonaim, the whole idea, and Becky, you're right, they did not think that they could win. Right, in the books of Chassidus, it says that there were literally 13 Chashmonai soldiers. That's it. It's not like the army was smaller. There's no army. It's 13 guys fighting the greatest empire at that time in the history of the world, and they won. It makes no sense whatsoever, right? So if the Chashmonaim looked at the odds, they would never have gone out to fight. But the whole point was that they weren't looking at the outside; they were looking at the inside. And what's inside of everything? Hashem. And so if they're fighting for the emes of Hashem, then that's what they were holding on to. That's the strength. Okay? so they did a tikkun back in the day, but still, obviously, the Yavanim, the Greeks, that whole mentality is really still what the world is based on, right? That's the culture that we live in still. And so every single person, it's an ongoing tikkun. It's an ongoing fixing that has to be done on a world level, still, obviously, and on a personal level in our own lives. Okay, and we're lacking in the ability to recognize and to feel that really everything is from Hashem. Right? We say it, but we don't necessarily really mean it. Exactly. We don't feel it. And really, every aspect of creation, every aspect of the world, every little prat, every little detail is really just a keli, a vessel, and a pipeline for Hashem's light. Every single one of us here, okay? These tables literally were created to, host us and in our Torah learning. And in doing that, they are revealing Hashem's desire that we sit here around these tables and learn Torah. And that's called being a tzinor and a kli for Hashem's light. Omnam b'poal ze lo kal lahargish zot ad hasof, right? It's not easy to feel this to the completely. V'asiba lakach hi kevan she'anu chayim ba'olam gashmi, right? And there's a very obvious reason for why we don't feel it to the end, because we live in a physical world, a materialistic world. Shebo habore mistater umitlabesh b'chol minei dvarim, and Hashem is hiding and enclosed in everything, all kinds of things, including terrorist attacks, right? Which is such a hard thing to say, But somehow nothing happens in this world without it being Ratzon Hashem. And we have to understand that everything is leading us somewhere. That's the point.
We see it also like through Yosef on what we learned last week.
Right, exactly.
Everything was meant to be.
Right, Yosef. One of the reasons why we read these parshiot around Hanukkah time is that Hanukkah represents, right, the encroaching darkness, and us lighting these, small lights of emunah, and through that fighting off the darkness. And it happens obviously in the time of the year where it's getting darker, right? Although truthfully, not in Australia, which is very interesting, right? But there's other kinds of darkness aside from nighttime, yeah. And we read those parshiot to actually help us tap into this, that nothing was what it seemed, right? To Yosef, to that whole journey, to the brothers, nothing was as it seemed. To Yehuda and Tamar, there's so much hiddenness in that story that then gets uncovered and uncovered and uncovered and uncovered. And we're going to see that also in our lifetimes. Be'ezrat Hashem. ומי שמסתכל על חיצוניוס, מה שקורה בעולם, זה יכול להטעות אותו לחשוב שיש חס ושלום טבע. Right? And when we look at if we look at the world through a chitzonius lens, right? A lens where we only see the events and we don't understand what's happening underneath the surface, then it could cause us to make be misaligned, or to miss the concept, to make mistakes that there's such a thing as nature and other forces in the world. Ubenosaf, hayetza hara menaseh lebalbalenu, right? And of course, the yetzer hara gets involved to try to confuse us even more. Ve'otef et choser ha'emunah b'shemot kamo hishtadlus o yesh derech teva shebahem manhig v'chadome, right? Those are all very innocent kind of things, right? And even from Jews, from quote unquote, right? We use these words, right? But we wrap our lack of belief in words that make it seem like we don't have a lack of belief, right? And we say, well, I have to go and, I have to run around to try to get this thing done because that's my hishtadlus, right? And really, if it gets done, it's from Hashem. And if it doesn't get done, that's also from Hashem. There's an amazing, I forgot to bring it, but there's an amazing essay in a book by, Rav Erez Moshe Doron. And he's a Breslov teacher, and he writes magnificently. Through his lens, he has helped me to like really try to start entering into the world of Rabbi Nachman and understanding a little bit. He has a beautiful book called "You Are the Heart of the World," which is essays that people wrote or writings from the heart that people wrote about their experience of hisbodedus, speaking freely to Hashem. And he basically collected these essays. There's no names on them, but he collected them from many people. They sent them in. And there's one essay where this woman is describing what we're supposed to do. And it's essentially like, it's a dream. She's describing it like a dream, that she's driving her car and nothing that she's doing is actually making the car do anything, right? And she realizes that someone's sitting next to her, telling her, no, don't worry, you're not in charge, I'm in charge. And so she starts to take her hands off the wheel. So the car starts to slow down. And he said, no, you have to keep your hands on the wheel. And you have to pretend like you're driving while knowing that I'm the one that's driving and you're not actually driving. What? And she, right? Wow. So she has, right? So she think about it for a minute, okay? She has to put her hands on the wheel, ke'ilu, as if she's driving, while having the understanding that she's not controlling the car at all. And she has to take her foot from the gas to the brake. But if she really steps on the brake as if she wants to stop, nothing happens with the car. But if she, in her heart, asks Hashem to like stop the car, then the car stops, or lets go and lets Hashem, stop the car. Then that's.
When you're driving, you suddenly have to brake. You always have that. Your mind, let me do it in time.
Let me do it in time.
It happened to me. It's a very, very rainy day. I was on the way to and thank God there was no traffic coming from the opposite way. The car went into a skid and almost went off the road into the. And I said, the only one who can stop this car is God, and it stopped.
Wow. Okay. So I don't need to say anything else. That's exactly right. We're never driving the car. We're never driving the car, but we have to pretend. Rabbi Shais Tab also uses the word alibi, right? Hishtadlus is an alibi that you give Hashem to act in your life without making it obvious that Hashem is acting in your life, right? So you go to it's something positive if you know that it's not you that's doing it.
That's the whole idea of hishtadlut.
Exactly. But most people think that hishtadlut, most people define hishtadlut that I have to do everything that I can and then Hashem will help me. No. Hishtadlut means
there is participation.
But it's participation in a way of where inside the participation, you're aware that you're only doing it because this is what you have to do in order to open up your vessel to Hashem's brachas.
I don't see
right? Because one is, well, let's keep on reading and then hopefully you'll see the difference, okay?
What you're describing is like
I'm not telling anybody, by the way, don't close your eyes while you're driving. So you should step on the gas, you should step on the brake, okay? But it's a mashal for how we should really, yeah, right, exactly. It's a mashal for how I should go through the tunnel merge. Yeah, that it's Hashem putting those cars in front of me and it's Hashem teaching me how to have patience. Mamash.
The only way I can understand this whole thing is if you have a driving student sitting on one side and the driving teacher sitting on the other side.
So imagine it that way.
And the driving teacher is the one that...
Fine. But you always have a driving teacher with you.
Right.
In your life, okay? Right? Not in the car. In the car also, but like Sarah actually pointed out to us. But you have to... Hishtadlus... Okay, let's keep on going. Let's keep on reading. Yeah. Ubanot set it up. Derech HaTeva, manhig, right? There's ways that the world works. Fooey. That's what I say about that. Okay? Fooey. I said fooey. There's not ways that the world works. There's ways that Hashem works. Okay? When we talk Dvarim Elu, the second line on the 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph. When we talk Dvarim Elu, shehem nechonim le'atzmam, okay? That these things are correct. Humapil et ha'adam legamre. But it causes us to get confused and fall. Ukvarhu ratz achar hahishtadlus. We think that the hishtadlus is the thing, is the ikar. Keilu hi be'emet mo'ilah, like it's really active and creating the results that we want. V'ke'ilu biladeha lo yasig, and as if without it we wouldn't achieve what we need to achieve. V'nofel l'chshosh me'inyanei hateva ke'ilu yesh l'teva koach atzmi. And basically, it's a very nuanced point, okay? But we have to understand that that teva has no power of its own. Whatever is happening in the world is happening because Hashem is making it happen. And that goes for all the trees growing their leaves, okay? He says a little bit further that, right, teva is just the timidiyut of Hashem. Like Hashem wants there to be a schedule. He wants there to be a cycle that makes us feel more secure, right? There's day and there's night. It's always Hashem that's lifting the sun in the morning and putting the sun down in the evening. Not the sun, chas v'shalom, acting on its own, but Hashem puts certain, does certain things on a regular basis because that gives us a sense of security. Okay, and so nature is essentially Hashem's, I want to say like loyalty, ki'ilu. You know what I mean? Like every day I'm going to do this, and there's going to be weather, and there's going to be a sky, and there's going to be, some seasons there's leaves on the trees, and some seasons there's no leaves on the trees, because that makes it look like, that gives us a sense of there's a presence, there's a, if we know that it's Hashem, right? So, but we shouldn't get confused that it happens because it happens. No, it happens because Hashem is making it happen for our comfort, for our sense of rhythm, because people need that. That's the key, okay? You have to do the hishtadlus, but it's not the hishtadlus that's causing, it's not cause and effect, okay? It's like, I need to, I take the cup and I pour the tea into the cup, okay? And that's my hishtadlus. But it's not because the tea has a mind of its own that it's going into the cup. No, it's because Hashem made me thirsty. Hashem makes a cup. Hashem makes the cup able to hold the tea. Hashem makes the tea be liquid enough to pour into the cup. And Hashem makes a whole body, a whole system that I can now drink my tea. Right now, it's a little bit exhausting to live like that. But Hanukkah, the whole point of what his essay is going to be is that Hanukkah enables us to, and that would have been Hashem's ratzon for me to spill the cup all over the place, right? That the Hanukkah enables us to tap into that a little bit, all every year, more and more. If we know that that's the purpose of Hanukkah, okay? That inside of every action is Hashem either making the action, is Hashem making the action happen? Whether it's what to our eyes looks like a bad thing or to our eyes looks like a good thing, inside of every action is Hashem's will and Hashem's energy. And we go about our day because that enables Hashem to give us these brachas. That's what Hashem wants. He wants us to be active while knowing that we are not active, that He's active. It's very nuanced. It's very nuanced. Okay, let's keep on reading because it'll be in His words. It'll be easier. V'hateva hu hanhagat Hashem yisparach atzmo v'hashgacha pratit mufla'a. And lateva shum koach v'kiyum atzmi. This is exactly what we were just saying. Okay, that the nature is Hashem behaving in the world. Okay, it's how Hashem wants the world to look with exact hashgacha pratis. Everything is exact. The Baal Shem Tov said every leaf on every tree, every blade of grass, every gust of wind is all being caused by Hashem. Nothing has a koach of its own. Which is what I just explained. Okay, it's the ratzon that's the most routine of Hashem. It reveals Hashem's desire for routine. Put it that way. And so much so that even though we all believe with a full heart in Hashem, but we have to guard ourselves. Shaloli pol lemachshava שיש לנבראים כוח עצמי לפעול. ואפילו לא באופן חלקי. Okay, we have to not fall. We have to guard ourselves from falling to the idea that creations have a koach of their own. Not even partly. Not even partly. Literally, how I'm doing this with my hand, it's Hashem in me doing this with my hand, right? Whatever comes out from my mouth. I mean, I can't say it before it happens, right? But afterwards, I for many, many years, and even still now, right? I would often leave a shiur and say like, oh, I should have said it this way. I should have said it that way. I should have said it the other way, right? Over the course of the week, the retreat that I was just at, we recorded these very short Torah videos. And afterwards, I was trying to remember what I said. And thank God I couldn't even really remember what I said. And that's the best thing, because whatever came out was from Hashem. And right. And I have to stop myself from saying, right. I have to stop myself from beating myself up.
But you didn't do this.
That I didn't do it this way and I didn't do it that way, because whatever came out was from Hashem. And there may be something for me to learn in that I need to prepare more in advance, that I need to be more, I need to work on how, if I say the word right or okay too often, or there are things that if it came out that way, then it's a lesson for me to do something better. But there's also a very strong inyan that whatever came out was what was supposed to come out. That's exactly right. Somebody had to hear it, right? And sometimes something enters in my head and I say it in shiur, and I have no idea why that story popped into my head or that inyan popped into my head. And then afterwards, someone will come up to me and say, I can't believe that you talked about that idea, which was completely disconnected from what we were saying, because it's exactly the inyan that I'm working on right now. And who knows, and it could be, I'm sorry, one more second. Could also be years from now. I mean, I listened to shiurim that were put online, 10, 15 years ago sometimes. And it's exactly what I need to hear. So 15 years ago when it came out, maybe that teacher had no idea why they told that story. But then 15 years later, I listened to it and it was exactly for me. And for other people also, meaning, right? Everything is interwoven and interconnected in that way that we all, right? I'm the center of my own experience, but each one of you is the center of your own experience. And you'll have these things as well.
I was just going to ask you, so how do you reconcile that concept with the idea that we have to grow, we have to work on ourselves and self-improve?
For sure.
But how do those ideas go together?
Because if I say what came out was what was supposed to come out, but I totally made a mistake, right? Or sometimes I listen to myself and I say, oh, I say the word, literally, I say the words okay and right all the time. So then that's something that I need to work on, right?
Okay, but what the other concept says, if that's Hashem talking,
so it's Hashem making those words come out so that I can then work on not having those words come out, right? It's all a course of self-improvement, but there's a very deep concept that it's really Hashem is living through each one of us, and he wants to experience all these different flavors of how a person grows through their life. And so for each one of us, it's a different story. It's a cultivated story that is happening for Hashem to experience how we, with his koach, learn and grow and react and respond. And, through this life that looks like A, B, X, Z, and N happened. And then this life that where P, D, Q happened, right? There's all of these different things that Hashem is trying to sort of enable us to learn, or him to learn, kavyachol, right? But through with our limitations.
But I think that.
Wait, Becky.
To me, it's very contradictory. If everything comes from Hashem, that means that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
That means it doesn't make a difference what I wanted to say or what I didn't want to say. And I can't say, I should have worked on myself and I should have prepared better or whatever, because that's what should have been. If I learn from that I have to learn better, or then
because it's about personal growth also. It's not just about, I'm not saying, and no one's saying that everything that comes into the world is in its complete state. Okay. but it is exactly how it needed to come out in that moment for that person and for that audience.
I also think that there is the element of like Bechirat Chofshi, like meaning that Hashem is the focus that we need to have in our lives through the kelim that He gives us. That's like when you give the shiur and you do something and you decide to take out the books and do the research, and then you give your shiur and you feel like that's great. And then if it doesn't, sometimes because you were rushed, but even like with what happened yesterday, it's the same idea. It's like we come after an event that happens like that, and people right away start tapping into like, where's HaKadosh Baruch Hu? How could something like that happen? Or we can look at it and say to ourselves, what do I have to do? Like, what is Hashem saying to me? And how can I work on things and do things so that I can feel that I still can connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu because of my bechira of choosing that? Or I could say, God must be this bad thing in the world and I need to disconnect and therefore it's not. And it's all about like Hashem, like the problem is it becomes like a very hard thing because people don't want to feel like Hashem is doing everything. Like that's it, but He is.
But He is.
But it's our bechira together with how we choose to pick Him into the world. That is how we can decide what path we're going on and how we're going to do it.
Isn't that an amazing concept that a person with Bechira Chofshi could choose to delve further into HaKadosh Baruch Hu, despite what we see with our physical eyes. That's exactly what Hanukkah is saying. Despite what we see with our physical eyes, despite the fact that the world looks like it is, gone off the rails, okay? When we are here learning Torah and we're saying, no, it looks like that, but it's not true. It's not true. Inside all of that is Hashem. And Hashem is forcing us to face things through all of these very dramatic events that we would not have faced otherwise. We would not have it's a certain koach, it's a certain strength to come here and learn Torah after an event like that happened yesterday. And all of you have exercised that muscle of saying, even though that happened, in spite of that, or because of that, even maybe on some level, I am still going to choose to try to know you, Hashem. That's a muscle that is a completely different muscle than someone saying, oh, everything's good in my life and therefore I'm going to learn Torah. It's a different muscle and you are exercising it literally right this second. And it's an amazing thing. I mean, I look at, we have so many examples around us. I don't even need, there's like countless examples of like Leo D, let's say, right? He and his new wife, right? Eliza should be blessed with many long, healthy years together. How does a person do that? How does a person turn around and restart their life with someone new? It's so much. He got remarried a couple of months ago.
Shana, you recommended a book.
Yeah.
A book with Rachel and Leah.
Yeah.
And also, there's so much in that book. I love it. I am loving it. I recommend it. There you see a lot of great ideas. Also, things you think should have gone this way.
Right. And it's because it didn't go that way. That's where the deeper lesson lies. And we are all literally examples of that. This is the deeper lesson. This is not, life in the 1300s was easy, right? Despite whatever was going on in the world, there were so few choices that people had to make. We are all souls that were put here in the year 5786, where life is confusing and crazy and very challenging. And there's so much seeming darkness encroaching over us. And look at this choice that you are making to sit here and learn Torah. That is like you're like the Giborot, you're like the heroines of Tanakh, mamash, by sitting here and learning Torah in this state of all these crazy things happening. And those were not choices that were available to people, 200 years ago.
But it doesn't change the fact that I keep thinking of those people that are now sitting Shiva.
Okay, but it looks to again, that's how it is. We hold the two opposites. We hold the two opposites.
It's also a choice to sit there and to have compassion for people and to feel for people. Like if something like that happened and nobody felt anything, obviously it's sad. Hashem's not asking us not to be sad. He's not asking us not to feel. That's not what the picture is here. But the question is, there's more to the story, and we have to figure out how to pick ourselves up.
Like you just said, Hindi, the bracha. I mean, the bracha. Wow, I don't know what that came. Okay. I guess the more normative way of responding to yesterday's tragedy is to say, oh, there's no Hashem in the world, right? That might be the more sort of human way of responding to this level of pain. But on the other hand, right, what does that do for anyone? That doesn't do anything for anyone. That it doesn't bring any goodness into the world. And our role right now as people who are not there, right? The job of the people who are there is unfortunately to experience this. And our job is exactly like you just said, to have compassion for them and to tap deeper into our emunah. That's our job right now.
And there's also something else. Like when you look at the Chatufim, and many of them are dealing with like some of this guilt of like, these people didn't. Like you just saw the pictures, with those groups of people that did Hanukkah candles, and then they came out. But then coming out and saying, you know what, I survived, I'm here, and I still have a lot that I can still be doing, and I need to continue that.
I went to one of the things that we did over the course of the retreat was that we went to the studio of Yoram Ra'anan. Yeah, Yoram Ra'anan, who's an amazing, amazing artist. Who I don't know if you remember this, but about 8 years ago there were fires outside of Jerusalem. He lives in the forests outside of Jerusalem. His whole studio burnt down. 40 years of art burnt down to the ground. Nothing left. And what did he do? He built a new studio and he started painting again. And he said that he knew people that this happened to, and they gave up, or they spent the next 20 years mourning the loss of whatever was lost. And he said, I'm not going to do that. That's not the response that I'm willing to have to this event. And he literally, and now his studio is filled with beautiful art, and he could sit there and be crying and moaning and, oh, this piece and that piece was so beautiful and it's gone from the world. Yes. And I'm also going to bring new pieces of art into the world. We hold both of those things. Okay, let's keep on going. Okay. Let's just go to the bold. Okay. Ha'or ha'Chanukah machnis banu et ha'emet. Okay, that's the title of the next little section. V'zeu koach hamoed hakadosh hazeh. This is literally, in order to do everything that we're talking about right now, that's what Hanukkah gives us, okay? Or midat hahod, lahachdir banu et ha'emet hazot. This is the light of hod, the light of recognition, of the truth. Ad shenargish, like the inner truth of everything. Ad shenargish ota b'kol levavenu, until we feel it in our whole heart, with our whole heart. V'nechiyeh ota, and we live with it. That we merit to see in everything that happens to us and everything that we do, how everything is really done just from his hands, just by his hands. And he is the true power, the true energy in the world. And to succeed, to reveal in every little detail, in every aspect, in everything that happens in the world, at Yichud Hashem, the oneness of Hashem. Lir'ot ech she'Hashem yisparach hu ha'oseh ha'amiti v'hu ha'metzius ha'amitit. To see everything that we're talking about, that Hashem is the only doer. Hashem is the sibat hasibot, right? He is the ultimate reality, the only true reality. Ki yesh b'koach or ha'Chanukah, because the light of Hanukkah has this power, lelamdenu, to teach us, shelo rak sheha'olam lo yastir et haborei, not only that the world doesn't hide Hashem, ela adarabah, hu yigaleh beyeter se'es, actually the world is revealing Hashem more and more. Et metzius ve'et koach haborei, right? We see that, the reality of Hashem and his power. We actually saw that. We all saw that. We've spoken about it here, that, right, the way that the world responded to the war here was crazy. It was hafuch al hafuch, right? That we got attacked and then we were blamed for the attack. right? Our innocent civilians got killed, and we were blamed for.
That's what they're saying now about yesterday also.
Right.
That it's the Jews'
right.
fault.
It's right. So where does that come from? It makes no sense whatsoever. It's Hashem doing that. It's Hashem doing that. Because that makes no sense in logic at all. And you can't. Right. You can't explain it through logic. And that's why also, I mean, all the internet warriors who are fighting on behalf of Am Yisrael, more power to, they should be mechazek, they should be strengthened, and they're doing amazing work. But sometimes they miss the point, right? Sometimes they spend all their time trying to prove that we're just like everybody else, or we're, they're using arguments of logic, and this is not it's not a logical argument at all. And it's Hashem pulling down blinders over people's eyes to push us to go deeper, to push us to do things in a more real way, to see the truth with deeper eyes. And that's what Hanukkah actually, like it instills within us, or what's the word I'm trying to think of? It opens that ability within us. Okay, I know that sounds like a funny thing. Like you're sitting and you're lighting Hanukkah menorah and you're looking at the candles and you think, oh, they're so pretty, it's so wonderful, and it's Hanukkah. Okay, on top of all of that, you're actually opening a portal. That's what I want to say. Okay, you're opening a portal, and the portal is the energy of emes, truth. The portal is the energy of seeing that everything is from Hashem. No matter how big and no matter how small, it's all from Hashem. And the more we sit by the candles and the more we learn about this and the more we recognize that this is what Hanukkah is all about, the more we can do this going forward. And the whole idea of every Chag is that it's like a filling station, okay? Like you need more gas, you go to the gas station, okay? We need more Hod, we go to Hanukkah. It's this time of year, our Hod tanks ran low, and now Hashem gives us Hanukkah, once a year to refill. So that going forward, we will more and more, layer by layer, deeper and deeper every year, see with those eyes of Hashem's reality, that Hashem is doing everything. And it changes your life. It really changes your life. When when I know that I'm stuck in traffic because Hashem wants me to be stuck in traffic for whatever reason. Maybe I know the reason and maybe I don't know the reason. Okay, that's also important. Right? It's lovely when the whole story comes together and you say like, oh, I was stuck in traffic and then I saw my daughter walking down the street and I wouldn't have seen her walking down the street and been able to give her a ride unless I was stuck in traffic. Okay, that's beautiful. But me'ever lazeh, on top of that, more than that, is when I don't know the reason and I still say, okay, this is from Hashem. This is from Hashem. There's something that is for me to sit in this traffic.
Also, if you can't see that, it's not that it wasn't Hashem yesterday that sent a big Muslim with his bare hand to grab a gun out of a terrorist's hand to save other people. I mean, then we're really not seeing the picture.
Right. We have to see through the eyes that Hashem is making. And there's a million, each one of us is going to receive it differently. Okay. Each one of us is going to receive the lesson that is appropriate for us in that time in our lives. But everything is a lesson. Everything is Hashem showing us himself. That's what it's saying here. That all of it is Hashem saying, look, here I am. Here I am. Notice me, see me, recognize that I'm the one doing this. And then we have a different relationship. A whole of life is a different experience. The kol davar yishakef et pnimiuso et haor ha'eloki shebo. And everything is just, wrapped around Hashem in a certain shape. But it's really just all wrapped around Hashem. It's really Hashem wearing a costume, right? In everything. Hashem is wearing a table-shaped costume in this table. And Hashem is wearing a cup-shaped costume in this cup. And Hashem is wearing a Shoshana-shaped costume in Shoshana. And all of you. Velo yastiroto. It's not actually hiding him, but rather, Ella nir'eh et mi shekavyachol mistater betocho et or Hashem yisbarach. Right? It's revealing him. We learned this. Rabbi Nachman talks about this, and the Alter Rebbe talks about it in Tanya also. The idea of like the snail and the in the shell, right? You can't really separate the snail out of his shell. He moves with his shell. So that's a very deep concept because it enables us to see, right? What is a snail without a shell? It's not really alive, right?
No, you get those slugs that
But slugs are different. Slugs are different, right? Slugs are a different creature. It's not a snail without a shell, a slug. It's a totally different creature. Okay, a snail cannot live without his shell. So the shell hides the snail, but it also enables the snail to live. It also reveals the snail. Okay, this clothing is hiding me, but it's also revealing me in a way that can be accepted by the world, right? So Hashem can't reveal himself. It would be too overwhelming for us. We would all just melt away into his reality and we wouldn't be able to live. So he reveals himself in the way that enables a separation, a boundary, so that we can live and he can live and he can live. He can, be, and it actually enables us to interact, right? My clothing enables me to interact with the world. It also hides me, but it also reveals me, right? Okay. V'kishiyudi zoche or zocha lekabel et or hazeh, when we merit to receive this light, im kol pnimiuso, and with all of its internality, right? To see it for its internality. Azai be'ezrat Hashem hu yitzag hu yitzeh me'achag im kinyan l'chol hashana. So that's the filling station, right? You leave the chag with this deeper ability to see Hashem in the world around us. V'tiyeh lo histaklut acheret al ha'olam ve'al kol ma shekoreh bo. You have a different view of the world and what's happening in it. V'yizkeh lichiyot im emunat hayichud, and we merit to live with the idea of the oneness of Hashem, right? Meaning everything is one, everything is from Hashem. V'la'akir bebehirut shehakol zet rak haborei yisbarach, and to recognize, to know deep within ourselves with a very real clarity that everything is from Hashem. And the last bit is just about the Shem and Zayit. We have like 3 minutes, but basically just the first paragraph will even explain it. Okay? Sorry, that's supposed to be an apostrophe. Okay, the whole idea of eating olive oil on Hanukkah, okay, that olives without olive oil, okay, eating olives it said, right, the sources tell us, right, it brings on forgetfulness. Ve'ilu hashemen shel zayit hu tov lezikaron, but olive oil is good for memory. V'zeh peleh ki zeh davar behifucho, right? How can one olive be both, right? The oil is in the olive, it's olive oil, right? Okay, so the olive is a thing and its opposite. Okay, how can we find in the olive these two opposite aspects, characteristics? And the explanation is, right? The oil is inside the olive. You don't see it with your eyes, right? Have you ever watched, it's crazy to watch olives being pressed. You don't see, it's not like you pick the olive off the tree and it's dripping with oil. You can't even if you squeeze it with your fingers, you can't get oil from a tree, okay? The olive itself is the outside, is the physicality. And it hinted here a deep foundational concept. Okay, when you eat the olive, you're eating the outer aspect. If you eat the olive without thinking about what's inside of it, only for its outside, okay, then that causes shichacha, which means confusion and not seeing the world in the right way, feeling like disconnected, because you're seeing everything. When we see with chitzonius eyes, with physical materialistic eyes, we see everything as separate. I look separate from Hindi, right? And I look, I'm separate. This book is separate from the table, and the cup is separate from, right? Everything's a separate entity. But when you look at things with pnimius, right, and we say, oh, Hashem is in everything, then everything is actually one, right? Then I'm not a separate entity than Hindi. At our shoresh, we share a neshama elokit. We're godliness. Okay, we're one. The book is a book-shaped Hashem, and the table is Hashem revealing Himself in a table shape. So it's actually not disconnected. It's all actually one. Okay, and that's the whole idea. okay, that we squeeze the olives, okay, and we're basically causing the olive oil to come out. And when we cause the olive oil to come out, we're recognizing that there was something inside of that olive. And that's really what the goal is. That's really why we're eating olives, is to recognize the oil that's inside of them. And when we it becomes like like an act of recognition to eat an olive that we right, the halacha is that we actually put olive oil on top of olives, right? Even when you open a can of olives, you're supposed to put a little bit of olive oil over them, okay? Because the whole idea is not to separate the oil from the olive. When you eat just the olive without any oil, you're kind of like separating the physicality from the panemius, from the inside. And when we put olive oil on top of them, we're saying, no, really the purpose of the world is not physicality. It's not the outside. The purpose of the world is what's inside, is to see what's inside, and to know that there's something inside of everything, and that something is Hashem. And that's why we eat olive oil on Hanukkah, because Hanukkah is the time for us to deepen our awareness and our ability to live with that knowledge that Hashem is inside of everything, and that's represented by the olive oil. So I'll give us all a bracha that, first of all, we should eat lots of olive oil. And second of all, that we should know when we're eating the olive oil that it's, and when we're sitting by the olive oil, by the candles, right? That's why it's a good idea to burn olive oil candles, or olive oil, in our menorahs. That's like the secret of everything, is that Hashem is inside of everything. So I'll give us all I'll actually give us a bracha that through Hanukkah that we just open ourselves to the possibility of receiving this idea every minute, every day, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and that we should be blessed to come out of Hanukkah knowing that we were filled with the ability to see the world in an inner way, and that we should be zocha to feel that all year. Ezrat Hashem. Be enlightened. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's in Kabbalah, so anyone that learns Pnimius of Torah, that's a thing. I thought it was in the Shulchan Aruch also. It's not? I have to look it up. Yeah, good. I mean, in salad dressing or in,
I don't eat salad.
I use olive oil and everything.
But, salad, I don't eat olives.
Well, there you go.
No, but I hope, it's a family.
They have the same